Yeah, let's bake that down. So now we have texture stretching happening here, so we have to correct that. We'll do that just by painting over the edge like this. So we're painting, instead of painting front onto the model, we're painting edge onto the model. But we're not going all the way to either edge. So we're not painting all the way over here or all the way over here. We're just concentrating on this middle part. Just going to bake that down. And we're getting repetition happening here, which we're going to have to remove. So let's get the edges done first, and then we can concentrate on fixing up any of those repeating edges. Again, I've got masking turned off at this stage. So again, I'm just going to paint on the corner, working my way in, not all the way to the edge though. Just covering over those parts of the model of the texture where it's stretched. Just like that, bake it down. Bake that down. Alright, let's start removing some of this repetition that we're seeing, like these two here that we can obviously see are the same texture that's been repeated. So I'm going to move my texture there like that and paint that out. Actually want to I think this is a better bit here. Okay. Again, we're getting that repetition, so what we'll do is I'm working front onto the model. Just going to line it up and work with a piece of the texture we maybe haven't used, maybe this end here. Paint that in like that. And bake that down. I don't like this repetition here, so I want to do something with this middle piece, this white line, this dirt mark here. So maybe this. Move it up. Paint that out. Bake it down. Right. Let's have a look at fixing up these top and bottom sections, and for this I am actually going to turn edge masking back on. Rotate the model up. Still not directly down like this, which you could do, but I like to always angle the model just back slightly. I want to work with this dark section here, this water damage part. I'm really more concerned with just this light sandstone color. So And again, we're going into the dark, so just move the texture down. And back up again. Maybe out a little bit. Move that. Bake that down by hitting the Alt key. Again, we want to do the same thing with these edges here, so I'm angling the model a little, rotating our texture around. Okay. Baking it down, rotating our model, rotating our texture. Baking it down, rotate the model, rotate the texture, just move the texture slightly so we're using a different part of it. Paint that in, bake it down. And this last piece here, again we'll rotate our texture and just paint that bit in there, bake it down. And we're going to have the same thing here at the bottom. Even though we don't see this base, it's quick and easy enough to paint in, so we may as well do that. Just rotate that around. Okay, let's move our texture down and finish off this corner. And bake that down. And the same with these top edges here, so I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Rotate our texture, move it into place. Paint those in, bake it down, rotate our model, rotate our texture, bake that down, rotate our model, bake that down, and this bit through here. Let's rotate our texture around. Bake that down. Okay. Alright, let's turn off projection for the moment. Jump back into our image manager. I'm going to quickly save our file here. And we'll throw on a new layer. Let's see now. Let's find an interesting dirt pattern. Might be good. Let's zoom in a bit. Scale it up just a bit and rotate it into position. We're working on a new layer. Let's paint that in. Bake that down. and move around. Again, rotate it just a little bit, position it, and paint it in. Bake it down. Again, I'm rotating the model slightly forward so I can see that top edge here. Rotate that around. Okay, we'll bake that down. And this bit here. Okay, let's bake that down. Let's move our texture out of the way for a sec. Let's see what an invert on this, an adjustment stack invert looks like. Yeah, no, I don't really like the look of that, so I'm going to remove the adjustment stack. Remove that invert that we put on. Just pull that back a little bit. Throw on a new layer. And no, not that one. Scale that down so I can look at it a little bit more easily. No, that's not really what we want either. Pull this one in. Move it into position. No, not really. Yeah, this one could be good. Let's rotate that around. Let's move in a bit on our model. Again, let's angle it slightly forward like that. Rotate our texture, and we're going to scale the texture up just a bit. And again, with this one, I'm more concerned with the dark part of the texture and less concerned with the white. So you see we've had a problem here with this texture where I overshot my mark a little bit. Let's fix that up. I'm just going to find the layer that we were working on. That's the one there, layer 2. We'll come back to that once we're finished doing the rest of this, so we'll fix that up in just a sec. Let's just finish throwing in this dark texture first. Again, I'm going to rotate it, position it, like that, paint that in. Okay. Bake that down. Let's rotate that a bit, move it into position. Bake that down. Rotate it, move it. Paint that in. Bake that down. Let's just join this little corner here. So let's rotate that around, move it into position, and paint it in. Bake it down. Let's just move that out of the way for a moment and pull this back a bit, maybe like that. Pardon me. All right, let's fix up that bit of a problem we created here. So let's jump back into that layer. Let's find that texture, which wasn't that one. It was this one. Scale it up. And I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Scale it up a little bit. I'm going to work on a new layer because the layer that contains that, let me just show you, the layer that contains that line is actually above our original layer, so painting on the original layer won't overwrite that line. You have to work on a layer above that line, just like you do in Photoshop. Anything above the layer will cover up anything below it. I'm just going to move that down a bit. Okay, now let's just save our file here really quickly. And zoom in a bit on the model. I think this outside edge along here will work on now, so let's just angle that up a bit. Turn on edge masking again. And in fact, we'll angle it down slightly. So instead of angling the model back, we'll angle it forward slightly. Let's throw on a new layer. Jump back into our image manager. And let's find something interesting. This one should be good. Let's scale that up. Scale it up a bit more. Okay, rotate it around. Just a bit. Alright, we're working on a new layer. Let's paint that in. Again, we're mainly concerned with the white part of the texture, not the black. Bake that down. And because we have masking turned on, we don't have to worry about that top edge through here. Which if I turned masking on before, we wouldn't have had to correct that problem we created. But as you saw, it wasn't that difficult to fix, so it always helps to have masking turned on. Avoids having to fix any overshoot that you may create. Take that around. Bake it down. Scale it up just a little bit. Rotate it around just a little bit. Okay. Okay, let's bake that down. Let's move that texture out of the way and work with our layers here. Just going to pull that back a bit. Like that. And now this one. Let's throw in a new layer and grab a new texture. Okay, so it might be interesting. Let's angle that up and come in a bit. Scale that texture up so it just covers the width of that column. Rotate it around. Now again, we're concerned more with the black in this part of the texture, not the white. Okay, let's bake that down. Rotate our texture around. Paint that in. Bake it down. Okay, rotate it, move it, and paint it. And bake it down. And then this side here, rotate it around, move it up, and paint it down. Okay, let's bake that down. Let's just zoom out and move our texture out of the way for a minute. Let's pull that back. like that. Alright, let's throw on a new layer. Zoom in. We're going to work on the base this time, on the bottom of the texture here. Let's grab a new texture. No, not that one. No, not that one. Maybe this one. We're working on a new layer. Let's paint that in. Bake it down. Again, we're more concerned with the white of the texture this time, not the black. Paint that in. Rotate it around. Bake that down. See the lighter that the masking gets, the lighter the red becomes, and the more of an angle the darker it becomes. That's important so that you don't actually accidentally overpaint, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Bake that down. By painting it on a severe angle like this, it's a darker red, so you're not going to accidentally paint here. If it's on too much of an angle and it's only partially red like that, you're going to have the problem that we've created, that I've just done here, where it's slightly overpainted it. Again, we'll fix that up. Now, let me just change the layer style on this. So I'm going to move that out of the way. And add. We're going to pull it back. We're going to throw on a new layer. We're going to jump back up to our texture, which is this one here. Scale it out. I'm going to turn masking off for a moment. And even though it's quite light, but we've slightly overpainted here when we were painting these in, because our angle wasn't severe enough. It was too, we didn't have our angle on an angle and up. It was too much like this, so it's slightly overpainted, but we'll fix that up right now. Let me scale that up. Got to find the right part of the texture. Just a couple of spots where that happens, so we'll just fix those up quickly. All right. And we just need one more layer again. We're going to go back into our image manager and pull up. Yeah, this one will probably work. Let's just put our edge masking back on. zoom in a bit on our model, make sure we're not looking down too much, but more of an angle, so it's a darker red masking. Position our texture, maybe scale it down a bit. Bake that down. Rotate it around. Bake that down. Bake that down. Okay, and this side just here. Rotate our texture a little. Okay, bake it down. Let's just move it out of the way for a moment and play with our layer styles a bit. Let's see if an invert on this will look like. Okay, pull that back a bit. We'll turn off projection. Edge mask, I mean. Let's export this and have a look at it in Max and see what it's like. Export flattened, export everything flattened. Again, it defaults to TIFF, so let's pop a star in there. And this is called light base. We're going to call it light base underscore painted.tga. Export all patches. Let's save our project here. Jump into Max. And let's change this texture. So this is light base painted is the one we want. Okay. And now we have our painted base in there. Still just a little bit of correction that needs to be done on that. Like a dirt map needs to be placed on the top through here. Color-wise though, I think it's not too bad. I know we said we were going to go with a white, but we can do some color correction in Photoshop if it's starting to look a bit yellow. I'll wait until we've done the other side though, until we decide whether we want to do any color correction. And see, the neat thing is, because these two models here and here are the same geometry, we can just make some minor alterations to this texture in Mari and then apply it to this side to make it look different without having to repaint the entire texture again. But the model, again, like I said, is starting to come together slowly. So what we'll do, I think, is finish up there for today. I'll be back on again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. now that you're in daylight saving in the US. I always post to my Twitter page, Phil Does 3D, 15 minutes before I'm about to go live, so you can follow me on Twitter if you want to know just before, want a reminder just before I'm going live. I will be back on again tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow. See you guys.